Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Welcome back, everybody. Sure do appreciate your faithfulness to the Lord and to this podcast. We're in Matthew chapter number 10, and we're looking at instructions that Jesus gave to his apostles as he sent them on their first foray into gospel territory without him at their side, without him superintending and overseeing the ministry. I mean, they're all out on their own, and they're going out in 6 groups of 2, and they're preaching the gospel. And they're not just preaching from location to location, but they're preaching as they go. And so they're saturating that entire area with the message of Jesus. And Jesus has freely given them the power to do miraculous signs so that this message of the gospel will be that much more validated in the hearts and minds of these lost sheep of the house of Israel. Here in verse number, let me see where we are, verse number 9, Jesus goes on to tell them, provide neither gold, nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. And not to make too much of these verses, but what Jesus is saying is, you don't need to spend time gathering supplies and getting ready. You're ready just as you are. And God is going to provide the need for you as you go. I'm sending you. So if we know indeed that Jesus is sending us and it's a present command, then we need to trust that where the Lord guides, he provides. I've heard it said this way, where the Lord leads, he feeds. And so their journey was to be a faith journey. I want you guys to go with what you have. Rely upon the culture of hospitality in those days, that as you go in as a visiting teacher, that you can stay in people's homes and they will provide for you, and you might have to work and help them with their farm or help them with their crops or help them with their animals or help them around the house. But the workman is worthy of his reward. And even the fact that you're working kingdom work will resonate with some, and they'll want to support you in that work. The point is, you might not know how you're going to receive. You might not know how God's going to care for you, but you need to know that God is caring for you. Verse number 11, and into whatsoever city or town ye shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till you go thence. So that might not make sense to you and me because we're used to going into a town and renting a room at Motel 6, but that's not the culture of this day. And in this day, there were not hotels, so to speak, and there was a custom and a culture of hospitality. And so when you go into a city, figure out who is the one that is going to support your ministry and allow you to stay in their home. And don't be picky and choosy about which home it is. If someone's willing, then they're worthy of that great honor to help meet your needs. And don't go from house to house. It's not about giving now this person an opportunity to express hospitality or that person. No, you've got kingdom work to do. You've got kingdom priority to attend to. So if someone's willing to allow you to stay in an empty room in their home and they're willing to provide that hospitality, then stay there. And God's peace be upon that house, and they will receive a reward for supporting that mission, for supporting that preaching work. Verse number 18, I'm having trouble seeing here. Verse number 12. Wow, my eyes are failing me today. I've got to hold the Bible at arm's length. There we go. Or remember my glasses next time. Verse number 12. And when ye come into an house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. In other words, if they're willing to keep you, if they're willing to be hospitable and to help aid you in your journey and care for you. The Bible says, but if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. So it's just a fancy way of saying there's a special blessing that you can pronounce upon the people that are helping to give provision for kingdom work. Even today, we talk about that as missionaries come to our churches or as we're supporting the Lord's servants. There's a special blessing, not just for doing the work of preaching, but for supporting the work of preaching. I think Paul spoke to that in Philippians chapter 4, when he said, I have everything you sent to me. I have all and abound. I can, but then he said, and I don't desire a gift, but I desire fruit that may abound to your account. And so he praised. I wish I could quote the verses better, but the point here is that Paul was praising the Philippian church for supporting missions and supporting him. And by their love offering and by sending those gifts through Epaphroditus and by sending those offerings once and again to Thessalonica, Paul said, you have a vital part. You have fruit in my ministry. And that's essentially what Jesus is saying here. It's a principle that Paul learned from Jesus, no doubt. Verse 14, whosoever shall not receive you nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. That's a really strong statement, because remember a couple things. First of all, remember that Jesus was telling them only to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So the implication here is the rejectors of verse number 14 are people of Israel. And so this is an Israel village. This is a Galilean village. And if they reject the message of their Messiah, then when you leave the city, you've done your job. You've given them the message. Their blood will not be required at your hand, to use an Ezekiel illustration. So what must you do? Shake the dust off your feet. Now, what's really ironic about that is when a Jew in those days would travel through Gentile territory or even a Samaritan village, they would ceremoniously, when they got to the edge of the city limits, take their sandals and kind of kick the dust off or clap the dust together or get the dust off, as if to say, I don't even want the dust of that city to be a part. I want no residue of them on me. And wow, for Jesus to say that to his disciples is for them to understand, well, we've done our job and they've done something that is far worse than what a Gentile does, or far worse than what they would perceive a Samaritan to have done. And that is, they have rejected me. So really strong words that Jesus uses in verse number 14. Verily, I say unto you, as if verse number 14 is not strong enough, Jesus says in verse 15, verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Wow. So that is a real indictment. And he uses this same language referring to cities like Chorazin, cities like Bethsaida, and the city of Capernaum itself. Why? Because these were the cities, sometimes known as the Gospel Triangle, where Jesus did many of his works. And of course, Capernaum was his adopted home city. And Jesus said of those cities, he cursed them and said of those cities, it will be more tolerable that for Sodom and Gomorrah than for you. And of course, Sodom and Gomorrah, they were the poster cities in Israel of judgment and God's vengeance. And yet, what Jesus said is these cities in which you live will suffer a more distinct judgment. Why? Because they had a greater opportunity. And therein is a great principle. The principle is this: unto whomsoever much is given shall be much required. And when Jesus gives great opportunity, sometimes scholars call those cities the cities of opportunity. When he gives them great opportunity and they say no, wow, woe is their judgment. That's why it's so scary to think about Nazareth. the home city of Jesus, that rejected him twice. And I think about even us, as many of us that are listening to this podcast that are American believers, that have great opportunity. We have the Bible and Bible study tools, and we have all kinds of opportunity to worship and freedom and prosperity. Boy, woe unto us if we reject, because we've been given so much opportunity. And that's it's a really strong warning, isn't it? That Jesus gives them, but that Jesus gives you and me as well. And Jesus goes on in verse number 16, a little bit of a change of topic. And so I'm going to stop there in verse number 15 for today with that sober warning. And then we'll come right back to verse 16 tomorrow. Hope you'll join us for that. Until then, God bless you, my friends.